Chapter 472, 10,000 Fields Tavern. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. Zhang Yuochen took a giant silver-white ship and set off from the East Region Saint City. He passed through the wormhole and came to Myriad Chaos Mountain again. This giant ship belonged to the Ministry of War of the Imperial Court. It started in the 7th District, and its destination was Myriad Chaos Mountain. It took a warrior 500 spiritual crystals to buy a one-way ticket. Zhang Yuochen bought 2 one-way ship tickets to Myriad Chaos Mountain with 1,000 spiritual crystals. Blackie needed a ticket, too. He needed Blackie to help him to search for the Chi of Origin in the primitive world of Wood Spirit. Therefore, he needed to take the cat along. After they stepped off the ship, Blackie rolled his eyes and said, "Zhang Yuochen, I feel funny. Why do I always feel as if someone is following us?" Zhang Yuochen said, "Leave them alone. First, I'll register at the Ministry of War." The whole Myriad Chaos Mountain was managed by the Ministry of War of the Imperial Court. Even those warriors who voluntarily rushed to the battlefield of Primitive World were first required to go to the Ministry of War to register and get tokens of identity. Last time he was here, Zhang Yuochen did not need to register. The Marshall Market Bank had an agreement with the Ministry of War that the Saint Academy could send students directly to the 5 Elements Primitive World for examinations. This time, Zhang Yuochen came alone to the Myriad Chaos Mountain. So, he needed to register. Ministry of War. The government official responsible for registration was a gaunt man over 60 years old. He looked at Zhang Yuochen and said in a hoarse voice, "You need to pay 1 spiritual crystal to register as a soldier of Primitive World." The old man looked at Blackie behind Zhang Yuochen and added, "Savage beasts and war pets don't need to register." Zhang Yuochen took out a spiritual crystal and placed it on the counter. Name, Zhang Yuochen. Age. After registration, the old man threw a black token to Zhang Yuochen and said, "Keep in mind that you must wear this token all the time. It proves your identity. If you lose it, there will be consequences." "What are the consequences?" Zhang Yuochen asked. The old man glanced at Zhang Yuochen and grinned. He said coldly, "A person without a token is no different from creatures in the primitive world. The Ministry of War won't send a boat to fetch him." "I see. Thank you for the information." According to the old man's instructions, Zhang Yuochen dripped a drop of blood on the surface of the token. Whoosh! The blood was absorbed by the token, and it disappeared. In the future, the token symbolized Zhang Yuochen's identity. It could show that he was a soldier of the primitive world in Kunlun's field. Zhang Yuochen asked, "Where can I catch the warship to the primitive world of Wood Spirit?" The old man rolled his eyes and said, "The primitive world of Wood Spirit is protected by the Imperial Court. It doesn't belong to the battlefield of the primitive world. Therefore, no warship will go there." "How can this be? I heard that warriors below the Fish Dragon realm are able to gain experience there." Zhang Yuochen frowned. The old man stared at Zhang Yuochen and smiled slyly, saying, "Exactly. Warriors below the Fish Dragon realm can go to the primitive world of Wood Spirit to gain experience. However, not all those warriors are qualified to go there." "What do you mean?" Zhang Yuochen asked. The old man replied, "The primitive world of Wood Spirit is a small world in which the Imperial Court cultivates spiritual medicine. Only titled nobility is allowed to gain experience there. Of course, if you really want to go, it's not impossible. Do you have any idea?" Zhang Yuochen asked. The old man had a smile on his wrinkled face. He stared at Zhang Yuochen's backpack. Zhang Yuochen immediately understood what he meant. He opened the bag, took out a head-sized red spiritual crystal, and placed it in front of the old man. This spiritual crystal was not only huge, but also of excellent quality. It could be divided into 100 parts. The old man's eyes flashed, and he immediately put it away. He whispered, "Rules are dead, but people are alive. If you want to risk your life in the primitive world of Wood Spirit, you can sneak into it." "How can I sneak in?" Zhang Yuochen asked. The old man smiled and said, "For the sake of the spiritual crystal, I'll give you some advice. There's a place called the 10,000 Fields Tavern in Myriad Chaos Mountain. When you arrive there, go to find Chief Steward Chi. He'll help you to sneak in the warship to the primitive world of Wood Spirit. The primitive world of Wood Spirit is a good place for its plentiful spiritual medicine. Every month, many young men want to go there to try their luck. It won't be long before a boat is full of people. Obviously, the old man had made such deals before. Apparently, he had a kickback arrangement with Chief Steward Chi. After leaving the military camps of the Ministry of War, Zhang Yuochen went straight to the 10,000 Fields Tavern. It was the largest tavern on Myriad Chaos Mountain, and it had a good reputation. Therefore, it was not hard to find. Many warriors who had experienced life and death on the battlefield of the primitive world would go to the 10,000 Fields Tavern to have a drink. In doing so, they relieved the high pressure and alleviated tiredness. In the 10,000 Fields Tavern, warriors could drink the best booze. Also, they could enjoy the company of the beautiful tavern girls, as long as they had enough spiritual crystals. A short, thin man in grey welcomed Zhang Yuochen. He smiled and bowed, asking, "Master, did you just return from the battlefield of the primitive world? Have you found anything good? The tavern can offer a high price." Zhang Yuochen glanced at the man and discovered that he was at the mid-stage of the Earth realm. He sighed at the thought that the Myriad Chaos Mountain was really out of the ordinary. Even the lowest-ranked person had uncommon martial strength. In Yunwu Commandery, a person who reached the Earth realm could be a rare master. Zhang Yuochen said, "I want to see Chief Steward Chi." The small man suddenly understood and whispered, "Master, which primitive world do you want to go to?" "The primitive world of the Wood Spirit," Zhang Yuochen said. "All the warriors who are going to the primitive world of the Wood Spirit are gathering in the Star Hall. Tonight, Chief Steward Chi will count up the number of people. Tomorrow, you can all go there by ship." Following the man, Zhang Yuochen came to the Star Hall. The Star Hall occupied a small piece of land in the backyard of the 10,000 Fields Tavern. It had 2 floors. Many young warriors had already been there. All of them would sneak into the primitive world of the Wood Spirit. Therefore, they had all gathered at night. Zhang Yuochen's arrival drew no attention. He went to the 2nd floor and found a seat to the side. He ordered a pot of rice wine and waited quietly. Blackie also climbed on the seat and sat opposite Zhang Yuochen. 3 men sat on Zhang Yuochen's left. All of them had reached the heaven realm. Zhang Yuochen was attracted by their conversation. Huang Shenyi's military merit increases so fast. He has already exceeded 10 million points. Huang Shenyi is ranked first on the heaven board for 4 years. He grows more and more powerful. He's likely to advance to the ultimate realm of the heaven realm. Therefore, he hasn't broken through the fish dragon realm. In the Star Hall, almost all the warriors were at the heaven realm. Few warriors of the heaven realm did not want to be ranked on the heaven board. Therefore, when people mentioned Huang Shenyi, everyone was excited. Many stories were told about him. Huang Shenyi, Zhang Yuochen said to himself. Actually, Huang Shenyi was a yellow god emissary of the Black Market Excellence Hall. His strength was legendary. In terms of aptitude, he absolutely could be ranked among the top 3 of the 7-star emissaries. At that moment, the whole hall suddenly became quiet. All the people looked towards the gate. A leggy woman walked through the gate. Her appearance was stunning, with white skin and bright eyes. Her beauty caught everyone's attention as she came in. It was rare to see such a beauty on the Myriad Chaos Mountain. Zhang Yuochen felt the room shift, and he followed everyone's gaze. But when he saw the woman who walked in, he knit his brows. It was none other than Auxinian, the princess of the half-dragon half-human clan. How can it be her again? Auxinian saw Zhang Yuochen sitting on the 2nd floor. With everyone watching, she gracefully went upstairs and casually sat beside Zhang Yuochen. Her eyes were like clear water, fringed with luscious lashes. She stared at Zhang Yuochen and said with a smile, "I finally caught up with you." Zhang Yuochen lifted his glass and took a sip. He said, "The primitive world of the Wood Spirit is dangerous. Myriad Chaos Mountain isn't safe. I suggest that you leave." Auxinian lifted her chin and squared her shoulders, saying willfully, Even if you're the group leader, you're not entitled to interfere with me. Also, based on my cultivation, I should come to the battlefield of the primitive world to gain experience." It could not be denied that Auxinian was definitely a dangerous beauty. Every twinkle and smile could capture a man's soul. But Zhang Yuochen was not attracted to her good looks. However, other warriors leered at her. Many of their eyes gleamed lust, and they were anxious to fling themselves upon her. "She is so hot. I would give 10 years of my life to spend one night with her." A burly, bearded warrior at the dawn state of the heaven realm fixed his eyes on Augusinian. He was burning with eagerness. He rubbed his hands together, arose from his seat, and walked to Zhang Yuochen and Augusinian. "Little girl, that guy looks worthless. You should follow me rather than him. I promise that I'll take good care of you when we reach the primitive world of the wood spirit." The big man smiled evilly and stretched out his big hairy hand to touch Augusinian's pert behind.